This is the County Line Podcast, a production of Free Speech America. And now, here are your hosts, Kris Ranney, Garth Hilton, and Kevin Virgil.
Welcome to the County Line Podcast. We are so grateful to have everybody here with us today, as usual, where we are learning and living liberty from the kitchen table to the county line. Today we have two wonderful guests with us, Kip and Sheila Murphy, who are just invaluable political insiders with tons of insight here in Western Iowa, and we are so glad to have them with us today. Hi, Kip and Sheila.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that lovely intro, and we are delighted to be here.
Yeah, it is wonderful to have you. So we are here in the Free Speech America virtual studios, as usual, and we are here to exercise our God-given power to overcome tyrannical impulses that we see throughout our society. And this is why we gather here every week, and we thank you for joining us for this great episode of the County Line Podcast, where we're learning and living about liberty from the kitchen table to the county line. So without further ado, hello, Kevin and Kris. How are you both?
Morning, guys.
Hello, freedom lovers. Good to see you. And I'm going to do my responsibility for the show. Ask everybody to please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get our word out and hope we provide something valuable. And if you think so, share it with your friends and family. We'd appreciate it.
Yep. I mean, our purpose here on the County Line Podcast is to connect with and mobilize ordinary Americans, just like us. That's all we are, ordinary Americans in their local communities to protect liberty and to ensure that it continues for our children and grandchildren. And we're so grateful for that opportunity given us by God and our founders. So good. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and kick it off. I think it's something that we're all excited about. Was the incredible outcome yesterday at the Capitol to remove gender identity from the Civil Rights Code in Iowa. What do you guys have to say about that wonderful outcome?
Well, I'm going to just share really quickly my screen. Oh, that's not the right one. I take that back. I thought I had a screen, but now I don't see it.
While Kris is pulling that up, I'll just point out, I think it's amazing that we actually have to take the time and marshal the entire legislature to, get back to what everybody knows about how many genders there actually are in nature. But it's unfortunate that we're at the point where we actually have to put in the effort to reapply that common sense. But I'm glad that we've come full circle.
Right. And as the left does, right? I mean, they even like to try and change definitions on us. And what was a synonym just 5, 7, 8 years ago, gender and sex, now we even have to I can't even use the word gender anymore because it means something different now. But no, it's a synonym of sex. There's male and there's female. And if you're transitioning to something, doesn't that mean that there's something you're transitioning to, either male or female? But yeah, it is remarkable that we needed to do this. But hey,
and as Kevin said, it's sad that we have to do this, but it is actually a standard operating procedure on the part of the left, that they changed the game table so that this wasn't about clarifying and defining language according to common sense. This is about the rights of some poor lowly group. They made that change. They had people in the Capitol weeping, and this is what we have to fight against. This opposition to sheer logic that they are putting forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they take everything to emotional, and they try to narrow it to the most basic thing where one person might be harmed by this, even though it might harm a bunch of other millions on the other side. It's that one person we must kowtow to and change everything for. because you don't want to upset their feelings.
Right.
Instead of just being out there and saying, you might upset me, you might upset me, I might upset you. Let's talk it through. But you can't do that anymore. You have to go to court for everything.
It is pretty wild. And by the way, just to follow up with what Kip said, there's nobody that's harmed by removing this this as a protected class, right? One of the most amazing stories I've heard about this entire debacle was, I think there was a women's college. I think it was a swim team. I want to say it was in Virginia, but I can't remember exactly where. That they were being coerced into bringing a biological male onto the team, and they had a meeting in the locker room about this, and there were girls on the team that were prepared to oppose this, and then this biological male they brought in basically told the entire team that if they didn't bring him in, that he was going to kill himself, right? So that's that's the how they weaponize this movement, right? I mean, the only harm that might come to somebody is, I mean, by the way, if you look at that photo that Kris put up on the screen, right, that is a testament to America's broken mental health system. The fact that we only have 1 or 2 mental hospitals back in Iowa at this point, and we allow all these people to roam around our streets untreated. You're seeing the effects of that playing out at scale right there, right in front of your eyes. But this weaponization of guilt and their own mental instability or psychological or emotional instability is how they've allowed this to get out of hand. And I think we have to push back.
Yes, it's emotional.
It's interesting too. I think of in terms of where this all started, because if you look back year to year to year, like I remember when my children were in grade school, they would bring in children into the grade school who had disabilities. One boy had spina bifida. They've had blind kids, deaf kids, and they started bringing these kids in. They call it mainstreaming, which I thought was fabulous. I love the fact that those kids can come in and participate. Not only was it good for the kids with the disabilities to just have the interaction with their peers, but I felt like it was really good for the other students to be able to make accommodations for kids that maybe have some extra challenges, and just teach them empathy. And the kids used to fight over who got to carry books, for some of these special needs kids. And I love that, because that impulse, but it's almost like that impulse to mainstream people with disabilities or differences. I even liken it back to, when they did desegregation and they brought kids of color that came into schools, and they integrated. That's all a really good impulse. And so I love that, but I feel like it almost led to, maybe, I don't know, it led to this idea, well, okay, now we have to mainstream gay students and bisexual students and students who identify as cats. It almost, what started out as a really good, effort, it just seems to kind of then go sideways and turn into something.
That's what happens whenever the left can identify an opportunity, a place to put a wedge in, they'll use it.
Maybe to hijack.
And so, absolutely.
The left will always use America's populace. We're a very giving people. We're very caring people. And the left will always use that as a means of saying, don't you want to take care of these people? Don't you want to be nice? Don't you want to be caring? Don't you want to be giving?
Yeah,
they use our inherent goodness to achieve their goals.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
very good.
Well said. Man, I had the opportunity to watch a little bit of the feed from the Capitol, and I got lucky enough that I was right there during the Holton Meyer debate that they had, and boy, did that get spicy. That was great to see. But here's the thing. Every American citizen, right, has equality under the law.
Yeah.
So I don't get the arguments that Meyer or any of the other people who were proposing amendments had. I mean, it's called equality under the law. And it just is astounding that they felt like, oh no, we need to make still these special amendments to this bill. And of course it was to try and sink it and cause a bunch of problems. But man, thank God that, that the Republicans were able to stick together and get this through. And I love and what it is going to send in terms of reverberations, in terms of a sea change in America. The message this sends from Iowa to other states is just so vital and so necessary. And so I'm very proud to be an Iowan today.
Did you see that that Trump was tweeting about this morning?
Yes.
No.
Yes, Trump is singing our praises.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I've been so caught up in Doge and even this debate with Iowa. I was surprised to find out Iowa was the first to do this. So
first to roll it back. There are other states
to roll it back. Yes.
Yeah, there are other states that never went down this rabbit hole. But
I had lost that.
Actually roll it back.
Although I do have to correct you, Garth, because you were thankful to the Republicans for passing this. I hate to bring this up. Well, I really don't. That's a lie. I enjoy bringing this up. But we had 4 Republican reps that did not support this.
Well, I that's true. You know, you're always going to have people that are not guided by loyalty to the party or loyalty to the platform. But in general, I think that praise to the party is deserved.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm going to show you. This is actually my rep. His name is David Seek.
Oh, boy.
And he did not vote for this. He voted against it with the Democrats.
Yes,
so
and he was part of an effort to put in an amendment maintaining the transgenders as a protected class. And he was fighting hard for that. I don't know.
I will be calling him
his political future.
He will be getting a phone call from me later today. But I just wanted to share that, and I wanted you to see his face. So, for whatever reason. But yeah.
Do you know why? I mean, I'm just wondering, sometimes I wonder if there's like personal reasons in people's lives. I mean, quite often there are.
I'll ask Garth when I call him.
He certainly wasn't listening to his constituents.
It doesn't really matter, Garth, because he's an elected official. This was a matter of defining not only our laws, but the way we define things anthropologically and morally in our society. And I don't really care what his personal issues may be. And I think that we need to make it more clear, those of us that want to maintain purity in our communication on this issue, that is the issue. We are not trying to one.
I agree.
I don't care what Seek's reason. Maybe he has a transgender person in his family. A lot of us have people in our families and in our network of friends. But these things are above and beyond all personal concerns, in my opinion.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I'm still interested in this story.
But you're interested in seeing why he would do such a stupid thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
I'm with you there. That's a good question.
What were you saying, Kevin?
I'm with you. I always want to understand what drives decisions that are so clearly against his own self-interest, assuming that he wants to be reelected, right?
Yeah.
I was just saying, I get so tired of seeing this. Like it's like when Joni Ernst claims that she now supports Obamacare, even though she campaigned against it because she has a sister with, I think, some sort of chronic disease. I can't remember, diabetes or something. But that I'm sorry to hear that. But you weren't the millions of Iowans who voted you into office. voted you in because you were going to campaign against this and this issue, and now you're claiming that because you've got like this personal this personal connection with somebody who's facing difficulty, and now you decided you're going to vote against it. It just doesn't that doesn't hold water with me.
Well, and I guess I'm becoming, I don't know if I would call cynical or just more reality based, but when I hear those kind of personal stories on why they're voting for this or that, I just don't believe it. I mean, it's convenient, and it's kind of a left tactic to say, oh, well, they're trying to make some emotional appeal as to why they've done what they've done, like that excuses it, or Iowans can say, oh, well, okay, we understand, that's okay this time, but I just don't believe it. I think there's other factors. I don't know what. I'm not going to accuse her of, taking illegal bribes or anything like that, but there's just other things happening behind the scenes that we really have no clue about here on the ground. And it's not that. I'm sorry. It's just not that. And when politicians use those excuses, I just automatically think, okay, that's just a cover story. That's the narrative. Yeah. That's one of the things I really want to talk about in the coming weeks is narrative versus reality. That reality is one thing. The narrative that's being presented to us to make sense or to help us accept something is a whole different thing. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's what we need to do, though. We need to make all of these Republicans famous. They must be primaried, and they must lose just for this one single vote. If we can't get that done locally, right now we need to start in our neck of the woods because Seek is so close to us. I mean, he's in your he's your district, Kris.
Right.
We have to make sure that happens at the local level. There has to be ramifications for being this obtuse.
Well, and if anyone has ideas on who would make a good replacement, call me.
One of my favorite.
How about you, Kris?
I'll think about it. But I'm famous for just calling people randomly and saying, hey, are you interested in running for office? You could run against, Garth can tell you this a little bit, but that's just my thing. It's like, these people just would be asked.
It's time that you talk to yourself.
I can think of two people who have in the past made noise about running when Seek gets out. I don't think they'd run against Seek, but
no, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't run against Seek, but they'll run if he retires. And this may be signaling that he's not going to be running again.
I don't know. But if this vote doesn't change their mind to run against him while he's still in office, then I don't want them running either.
But what's a funny thing about Seek? When you talk to people from his district, and we've done a lot of campaigning in that area for various campaigns, and the people there are devoted to him on a very personal level. They like him as a person. He has great constituent communication on the telephone, and he's really parlayed this into his office. But when you ask people about his ideological stance on things, it's very murky. So this could be a clue as to who he actually is. I do not know.
The other person who definitely has to be ousted is this Lowe's, right? However you pronounce his name. Isn't he the guy that won the lottery?
Yes.
And now has got
is that right?
Might be a little.
Yeah, he did.
He literally won the lottery. Wow.
He did.
Yeah, literally won the lottery. Yeah. So he might be a little bit hard to run against. He's, I guess, got some deep pockets if he's been smart with his lottery winnings. But
nobody's smart with the lottery. Have you ever watched these or read these accounts of what happens to people after they win the lottery? There are no fairy tale endings, or very rarely.
For most, I actually personally know the man who won. I think he might have won. It might have been the first or one of the first Iowa lotteries years ago, 30, 40 years ago. And he actually was really smart with his money. And
no, that's great.
He's handled it well. But
I would be
mostly it's bad looking.
Oh, excuse me. I was just going to say I'd be willing to offer myself as a test subject to see if I could win the lottery and handle it well. I'll give it a go.
I'll go along with that. I'll help you.
Well, Sarah, take it.
Very generous. So moving forward here for the rest of the show, I know Kevin's probably on a tighter timeline than the rest of us. But Garth, do you think it would be smart to kind of run through anything Kevin wants to talk about before we turn Kip and Sheila loose, or how do you want to organize today?
Go for it. Kevin, what else is on your mind? Anything else?
The only thing that's on my mind is just came to mind. I think we should invite your representative Seek onto the podcast to give him an opportunity to talk through his decision to vote the way. So I think if anybody's able to call his office and extend an invitation, I'd love to hear from him.
I will do that. I'm going to call him today, so I will invite him while we're at it. So
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
But no, I have nothing more to add. I know we're on a bit of a tight timeline here. We want to hear from the Murphys, so let's just crack on.
So Kip and Sheila, go ahead, Kris.
Oh, I was just going to say, I invited them on, kind of with just some idea. I've known them many years and appreciate so much. I can't even tell you how valuable they've been to me in the past, just in terms of helping me frame my thinking and understand issues in Iowa. They are campaign advisors. They've worked on a lot of different individual campaigns, but then also issue campaigns. And so they're pretty smart cookies. And I thought I would have them come on just to talk a little bit about what they do, also what they see happening in the state of Iowa, and also if there's any really good gossip. If I hear of anything that's happening, I immediately call them.
Now we're getting down to it.
What's happening? What is this story? And they always have the background for it. So Kip and Sheila Murphy, you guys are from Harrison County. So
yes.
We're based in Harrison County, and we've worked on campaigns all throughout the state, and we kind of operate when we do campaign consulting on two different levels. If we work for a presidential campaign, then we'll have a niche, an area. Usually we'll work in like field operations or coalitions, something of that nature, and we'll handle that particular area. And then we manage campaigns for other candidates on other levels. And so, but that has gotten us acquainted with a lot of people throughout Iowa, and
Iowa, Nebraska.
Yeah, a lot of Nebraska. We're originally from Nebraska, so we still have a lot of contacts there. And there's a lot, especially in Western Iowa. There's a lot of give and take between campaigns and causes, and we need to nurture that. It's good for everything, because you can see what happened in Omaha in this last presidential campaign. We have a real area of vulnerability there for liberals, and to take advantage. And so I think Western Iowa has to make more of a stand over there.
Yeah, and you can make a stand in Omaha if you're smart about how you campaign. I've worked heavily on campaigns in Omaha, and you just have to be smart about the way you go about doing it. You don't have to have a ton of money. You have to have some, but you have to target people. You have to get on the ground, and you have to work the ground. Going door to door, talking to people, and that works in Omaha. And I'm afraid that the Trump campaign missed that boat in Omaha the last time.
They really did.
They sort of gave up.
Well, I'll just say it. The Trump campaign in Omaha sucked. And it just did. And
okay.
I don't know why, but, they're just, when people are calling us here in Iowa and saying, can you find somebody in Nebraska that we can talk to who's connected to the Trump campaign? When things are that bad, you have a problem. So we do have.
Hey, I really want you guys, I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet, because you have been such great crusaders on the pipeline issue.
Yes.
Tell us about your recent work fighting the pipeline.
Well, right now it's mostly in the legislative arena.
There's not much happening outside of the legislature right now, but I can tell you from our contacts in the legislature that it is a really divisive point there. The people that oppose the pipeline are really coalescing into a solid group. And they also were a lot of them, the solid group that supported this gender-defining bill. So this has been a key issue for conservatives. And we were involved with a Stop the Carbon Pipeline, but that is kind of morphed into the Free Soil Coalition, which is a broader group with broader goals, but they are still very much concerned with fighting eminent domain and fighting the pipeline. But right now, we're up against it because they have a lot of money, the people that are supporting the pipeline. And so we're trying to fight it. Also, many of you may know Tammy Kopsa. Tammy was very instrumental in this cause, and actually was the person who drew us into it professionally. And now Tammy has moved on from that and is addressing other avenues for her activism. So I think they're kind of doing a little bit of reorganizing, reforming, but I know it's a big issue in the legislature.
So tell me a little bit more about the Free Soil. Did you say initiative?
Coalition. It's called the coalition.
Coalition.
And to tell you the truth, I'm trying to learn myself. We got a bill for a renewal of the domain name that we bought for them called Stop the Carbon Pipeline Scam. And that was the domain we bought, and we're like, okay, so I contacted them and said, are you still using this domain? And they said, no, we're not. We're completely switched over to the freesoilcoalition.com. That was just a few days ago, and I haven't really researched it that much. I know that podcast.
We'll have to get them on.
He's a podcaster from Nebraska.
Chris, he was
Trent Loose.
Is it Trent? Trent Loose?
Yes, that's his organization, I believe, or he's very instrumental in it. And so I need to know more about them, but that's kind of the direction they're going in. And
so Steve King heads the Free Soil Coalition up. Right?
Oh, he does.
He does that now. Oh my God! Well, see, I didn't even know that.
I just talked. Yeah, so before we started this call, somebody was calling me, and I had to go on hold for a minute. That was Steve. So yeah.
Okay. That's good info. I knew that he was connected to them. I did not realize he was heading it up. Yep. Well, and Steve,
maybe we should get him on.
Force in this whole thing. And
right.
Steve,
Wait, at this rate, we're going to have a show every day just to get all the guests we want to talk to. But we'll work on that.
Kevin's about time for Kevin. Are there any other issues that you want to talk about before you hit the road, Kevin?
No, I mean, I could talk about the pipeline all day, right? Yeah. That was one of the things I ran about.
Yeah, that was a big issue on your campaign.
Yeah, I actually want to talk with you guys really quickly. I know we're supposed to be covering Iowa, but I'd love to hear a little more about Omaha. Did you guys support Dan Fry's campaign at all when he was running against Bacon?
Yeah.
Well, we were acquainted with the people that ran it. But
we know people on both sides of that issue.
But we were not involved.
We weren't involved in either one of that.
Scott Peterson was very involved in that, and he's a friend of ours. So we were kind of keyed in on what was happening. Were you involved in that?
No, it's just, I was running against Feenstra in the 4th District.
At that time, we were involved in that.
I was campaigning from the right, just like Fry was against Bacon, who's one of the... Bacon's one of my pet peeves. So one of my pet peeves about politics are all these retired senior military officers who are just totally left wing after spending 20 or 30 years in a socialist work environment, which is what the military is. Let's be honest. It's structured as it's not a meritocracy. You're promoted based on time in, and all your needs are cared for. It's by definition a socialist hierarchy. But yeah, I think I was just interested in it because my campaign was so similar to his. And by the way, I'm a veteran too. I'm not just out here throwing grenades at the military. I've lived inside it for quite a while. But no, I was just really curious to hear about that. I don't want this podcast to become like a single issue effort, but I could talk about the pipeline all day, and I'm glad to hear you guys are involved in resistance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in Omaha, it's a very sticky wicket because it's such a small geographic area, but also it's very you gotta balance the liberal side. It's not like Northwest Iowa. Your district is very conservative. Omaha is.
It's a mix.
It's a very big mix, and even some of the conservatives. Omaha used to be, if you were a conservative Catholic, you voted Democrat.
You just did.
You just did. That's the way everyone was brought up in Omaha.
So we have to. We're from Omaha, so we know how to fight against these things. But back to what you said about the military. For a short time, I was an independent contractor for the Pentagon, and I got to know a lot about the military. Although our dad
was a retired lieutenant colonel,
so we're kind of army brats. But anyway, the what I found was two different militaries. I find the rank and file to be pretty conservative in their thinking, but I was absolutely blown away, shocked by what you talked about, the liberalism of the commanding level. That is
absolutely.
It's just astounding. And one thing that, like you, that really bugs me is when somebody stands up and says, vote for me because I was in the military. I don't think so. There are a lot of people that were in the military, and they weren't all princes and princesses.
It sets my teeth on edge, right? Like the people like Bacon who they wear or Tammy Duckworth over there in Illinois. They wear their service like a badge of honor, and we're supposed to treat them like the Pope, because they because they served right. Or Joni Ernst, who claims she's a combat veteran when she was running like a quartermaster unit, like hundreds of miles behind the front line, and then promptly goes out and torpedoes every conservative initiative that the Republican base tries to push through. I'm done with it. I'm done with it, and I wish more people would cast a more skeptical eye on people who wear the military service like some sort of body armor.
Well, you can look at it right now, just the way Trump is acting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's bringing in people who are going to take the mission of the military to make sure that it's a no-holds-barred fighting force.
Yeah, it's become a social engineering experiment over the last 20 plus years, right? I mean,
quite so.
So I actually worked for Lloyd Austin, who was Biden's Secretary of Defense. He was my brigade commander in my first unit.
Wow.
I started out in the 82nd. I started out in the 82nd Airborne, and he was my brigade commander. And he was. I mean, he was not great. I wouldn't characterize him as a visionary leader, right? Like the guy I had before him was Petraeus, who, deeply flawed person, but exceptional leader. And that's we've. And it's people like Austin who've just sort of like failed their way to the top over the last 20 to 25 years, and it's nice to see some house cleaning finally taking place.
Yeah, so true.
And
indeed.
I appreciate. I was listening to a speech Hegseth gave. I think it was yesterday, the last couple of days, and even his terminology and the way he frames his discussion, he talks about the military being war fighters. That's kind of like a term he continuously uses over and over. And I like that. It's kind of a reframing. It's like redefining for the American people what the military is for. They're for, I've heard a quote in the past, killing people and breaking things. That's kind of what they do. But he just refers to them as supporting the war fighters. It's like, so even just that one term, I feel is so helpful, and it kind of helps bring us back to focus what the military is for.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the recruiting numbers look like in about 6 months, like with all these changes taking place, because they were horrible.
I heard they're already up.
Yeah, I think I've heard that too, but I would like to see the official numbers because the last
everything I've heard, they're gone through the rough in the first 2 months.
Because people trust their commander in chief will have their back now.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a son who's about to turn 14, and he's chomping at the bit to go into the military. And I've told him for the last couple of years, like, just don't do this, son. Not under current management, but let's see what happens. I may change my tune if we see things start to change.
Yeah. And plus, well, this is too big of a biscuit to bite into, but also that it's not on behalf of the American global empire any longer.
Right.
We need to reframe why we use our military and make it more of what the founders intended it to be for, and that is defense. And anyways, it's, that's a big one that we probably should have for another time.
Yep.
Well, and speaking of it, I hate to trail off on too many rabbit trails, but I also watched a documentary last night on what's going on at the southern border. Have you guys seen this? It's insane. Like, the cartels are amassing heavy artillery and bombs loaded onto drones, and they're starting to make forays to attack the border and the border guards. And so thankfully there's military down there on the border, but I don't know if the program I watched is kind of hyping it up or if it's as serious as they say it is.
Yeah. Well,
that's kind of amazing.
Just this week, Kris, an Arizona rancher who has a property on both sides of the border and down by Brownsville, it's Texas, Brownsville, Texas. He was killed by an IED
on his land. So, yeah. Well, there's money involved, and they're willing to do a lot to protect their revenue stream.
Indeed.
And when you have that, and even though Mexico is moving troops to the northern border, I'm not sure how good they're going to be.
But I like it that Trump has the attitude of fighting them as a terrorist organization. That's the key. I love that.
You guys still there?
Absolutely. Yes, yep. We are still here. And this is probably a good time to just segue into say goodbye to Kevin. Great to have you, buddy.
Bye, Kevin. Yes, back on. I have to go, but it's very nice to meet you guys.
All right. Well, thank you for your service.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you next week, friend. Yeah, and just so you know, and this is just a housekeeping thing behind the scenes, but if your screen freezes, it's just it's kind of an internet thing. It doesn't necessarily mean it affects the recording, so don't freak out about it. Just keep trudging on, guys. Keep trudging on. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I know next week is going to be another big day and big week in Des Moines. Hopefully, looking forward to another victory for emergency powers, right? And limiting emergency powers of the governor. So we'll see how that should be. Within the Republican caucus, that one is going to be a little bit more of
that's going to be dicey.
A battle.
Oh, yeah.
So big things they've been talking about are the budget.
Yeah, the budget, property taxes are a huge topic of conversation in Des Moines right now.
Well, across the country, but it's great that we're talking about it in Des Moines too.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more what you know about that. I mean, do we have some people up there talking about how it's theft and that property taxes should not exist at all?
Yes, actually, there is a movement that's beginning to get a little traction in
good.
What you were mentioning the other day, what Florida's doing.
Florida is looking at removing all property taxes.
Amen.
And so there are people now in our legislature that are looking at that and wanting to see how that goes and to get some tips as to how to proceed. So, yeah, that is starting, Garth. And right now, I know there are a group that are contacting every county in the state to inquire as to their budgeting, what they're doing, what they can do to lower property taxes. They're trying to do an analysis of how things are going on the county level. And I know a few county supervisors are concerned. They don't want to lose power to the state. But I made some inquiries about that. I've been told that at this time it's simply fact-finding. But I think anything that looks into it, that looks to see and they're doing like a kind of a Doge-influenced thing where they found waste already, tremendous waste in some of these larger counties especially. So this has potential of some good things coming out of it in the end.
Can I ask a question on that issue? I guess I'm a little ignorant on property taxes in that how are they created? I'm assuming there's some sort of state legislation that authorizes or creates property taxes, although I know they are collected and then used by, on a county level. But you guys know how that functions? Like that would have to be legislative to make changes to actually get rid of property tax?
I believe so. I don't believe you'd need I'd have to look at the Iowa Constitution to make sure it's not a constitutional amendment. That would be the only thing that would concern me. But legislatively, you'd have to go through and remove it at the legislative thing. But then you'd have a lot of people on the local level, because all property taxes basically, except for like your car tax and things like that, but like your property land tax goes to your local entities, mainly your school and your county. That's where your property taxes that most people think of as, your taxes on your land go to. But like the car tax will go to the state. Personal property will go to like the state, be used for roads, things like that. So when people are talking about getting rid of property taxes, there's going to be a big fight there, because you're going to have to go back to, how do you fund these local entities?
Those needs will have to be filled in another way.
And you're going to have to look at, are we going to have to do a local sales tax? And like in some of these poorer counties, is that going to be enough to support the schools and the local government? Mm-hmm. And then what type of sales tax are you going to use? Like, is it going to be on everything from food to luxury items and sin taxes? So,
right.
I mean, this is going to take us some...
It's complicated.
It's going to take us some working through to figure out how to do all of this.
So just fun fact, I Googled it while you guys were talking. Iowa's territorial legislature enacted the first Revenue Act in 1839, created a tax levy on real and personal property. This form of taxation continued after, so this was before Iowa was a state, it was just a territory, continued after statehood and was the primary source of revenue for both state and local governments. That comes from the Iowa Property Tax Statement of 1861.
Oh, wow.
So there you
Very
go.
Good.
Nice research.
There's your history lesson for the day.
Yeah, it's a concern, but I think we all can see that it's not an issue that's going to be resolved very, very easily.
Well, here's one way that we can help, and it is before the State Government Committee in the House next week. I have some legislators who are trying to help push this into full debate before the committee, and that is transactional gold and silver. And we need to see that move. We need to see full debate and try and get it to the floor in the House this session. And the reason why I bring it up in conjunction with taxes and counties and, what are we going to do? Well, guess what? If we have transactional gold and silver up and running here in Iowa, then we can suck in a lot of dollars from all over America if people want to do business with our system that we would start, where people could get a debit card from an institution here in Iowa that is holding gold and silver, backing gold and silver for a state currency. And if we did that, we could get tons and tons of fees coming in from all over the world, but certainly from Americans in various states. And that would be a great way to help fund Iowa, is by becoming a constitutional state with a constitutional currency from a state backed by gold and silver, and help save Iowans from the on fire greenback fiat currency known as the Federal Reserve Note.
Is this being done anyplace else right now?
You bet. Right now, it is past the House in Utah, and Florida's working on it. Texas is working on it. Oklahoma has a good shot of passing it this year. But yeah, there's 25 states that in some degree or another have this legislation active. So, yep, go to transactionalgold.com, check it out. Kevin Freeman and from the Economic War Room at the Blaze, and his book and also podcast called Pirate Money Radio. Highly recommend it to everybody, but let's push this and reach out to every representative on the state government committee before, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, and let them know that we would like to see full debate and this to get to the floor.
That's fascinating.
For debate.
As long as we have cryptocurrency, why not have something that's actual real,
And constitutional.
And
Constitution. Yep. Article 1, Section 10, I think. It definitely says states can make currency as long as it's gold and silver. And we can easily make that transactional with the technology, just like our debit cards right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yep.
Cool.
That's a
Nice.
great idea.
Consider done.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing all that.
Thanks for that update, Garth. All right, Kip. Sheila, what else? You got any other?
Oh, let's see.
Any tea to spill for Iowa that was
right now there are people talking about running, and they're.
Well, David Pouch actually announced yesterday that he's going to oppose Marionette Miller Meeks again for First District Congress for that nomination.
How do you guys feel about that?
Well,
I don't know anything about him, so
people, I think his stance on the issues are fine, but I know people have approached him and expressed concern about his ability to raise money for a campaign. And his answer was, I don't need money because I will win through divine intervention. I think that's a risky way to approach it, because we tell our clients, it doesn't matter how pure your ideology is, and it doesn't matter how great your stand on the policies are, but you cannot win if you cannot afford mechanically to transmit that message to the people. That has to be done, and it does take a certain amount of money. So I don't know. That's a concern that people are discussing with him.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous comment because, then guess what? If that's what you think, it's going to be divine intervention, then I guess the divine intervention is going to be putting a lot of money in your candidacy.
Again,
I've heard some things. I don't know the man, but I've heard he's a bit of a wingnut. And if we actually want to get rid of Meeks, we're going to have to find somebody more sturdy. Maybe not in terms of a purity test, although we want a conservative. I mean, let's get somebody who could really be a Freedom Caucus type member of the Republican caucus.
That's even harder to do, like in her district.
Her district is left leaning, so that's tough. What we like to say
I understand.
We're looking for an electable conservative. That's the key. You want an electable conservative, and it doesn't matter how great you are. If you're not electable, you're nowhere. What else have we heard?
Brad Sherman.
Brad Sherman is running for governor, running for the nomination for governor against Reynolds. And our feeling, and when we tell the people quite frequently, candidates, potential candidates, if you want to unseat an incumbent, you have to give to the people a really compelling, specific reason that they have to turn them out. People of Iowa tend to think they're doing a good job. I don't want to turn against them because they're doing a pretty good job. So you have to give them a specific reason. And I don't know that Sherman's going to be able to get anywhere, because if you talk to, there's two ways that you can deal with these things. There's politicos, people like you two, who know the issues, who know the way government works, who know the way politics works, and you operate on a certain level. And then there's people out there who are the folks. And when you talk to the folks out there on the street, which we frequently do to keep ourselves in touch, they say Reynolds is doing a pretty good job. We're pretty proud of our state. We think things are going well. So if he has not come up with a compelling reason for people to turn against her and turn her out, he's not going anywhere.
And then you look at, like, on the Democratic side, Rob Sands is always looking at moving up, and I've heard Democrat. He's looking at either governor or senator.
He's trying to decide. He's a very
ambitious person.
He's ambitious, and he's a wily politician, and he should be taken seriously.
Gotcha.
And I've heard rumors that on the state level, auditor. Is it auditor?
Yeah, state auditor Todd Helber, who ran last time.
I've heard
probably going to run against, and another guy who's from the same county, Dallas County,
may run.
Gelbach. He's a state rep, and he may run, and so that could be interesting, an internal race there. I don't know how much impact Reynolds' choice as lieutenant governor is going to be. It's not a popular choice among conservatives because she was not a Trump supporter. And I think a lot of people felt that it was Kim's chance or opportunity to further the outreach that's going on between her and Trump. There's a, making of peace is happening right now. And this was a chance to further that, I think, by taking an overtly well-known MAGA supporter. But she has worked closely with Conyers on educational issues, so that's, as I understand it.
Yeah, and they're pretty tight friends.
Yeah, they became good friends, so that's where that goes. And also that that group, that machine, they like women. They want women to run for everything. I'm a little sick of this. I'm a little tired of being told that somebody's gender should compel me to vote for somebody one way or the other. I think that's the lowest form, but these people think we got to get women to run for the offices, and I don't care. Give me, I wouldn't take somebody just because they're a woman, but I kind of think that they do.
Yeah, a lot of politicos think that way. That you look at the gender, the race, if they're a veteran, their education.
They got a card. You got to check off the boxes.
You have to check off boxes
instead of just finding the best person. So it's tough.
Yeah. This is a perfect opportunity for me to put my meme up for the day. I try to find a fun meme for each show, and I wouldn't say I'm anti-feminist. I guess I'm anti-modern feminist, which is, I've got a book to share with you guys next week that's coming. But here's my meme for the day. Elon Musk put this up, and I'm sorry, people have different opinions about Elon, but he has quite the sense of humor.
I love the guy.
Here it is.
Drum roll.
Oh.
There. You got it?
Okay.
Yeah. Ladies, it's time to start thinking whether the guy you're dating has post-apocalyptic warlord potential.
Very good. Very good. I said,
nice.
That cracked me up. It's so funny.
Give me the best.
Well, that is good.
It's funny because I have a niece who's single, and we talk a lot about dating and kind of what's out there. And she's kind of changed her focus. She used to like the idea of dating someone who maybe was an attorney or an engineer, or someone who's got good income, is going to, make a good supporter. And now she's looking for someone who's got carpentry skills. Can he repair a door? Can he change the oil in my car? And so it's kind of interesting to watch her progression.
What she needs is a handyman lawyer.
There we go.
A lawyer with skills.
A lawyer with skills.
It's a whole discussion. We could spend days and days talking about what society, especially the feminists, have done to masculinity in the last, especially 10 years.
It's horrible.
I'm all for bringing back some of that toxic masculinity. So
yeah.
Well.
Oh yeah, I don't want a politician, someone to run for state and be elected because they're female, they're black, they're green, I don't care. It's like, are they capable of doing the candidacy?
Exactly.
And stop promoting people because they're female. Seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're all agreed on that one.
That might get me in trouble, but
it's been a wonderful time. I think we probably need to think about wrapping up. But I'm grateful to you, Kip and Sheila. It's always wonderful to see you, whether it's here in the virtual studios of Free Speech America or if it's in some dimly lit back room of a bar somewhere in Western Iowa.
We will hang. It's been wonderful.
It's been fun.
And this has been great because we think the world of both of you, and it's been a great pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, and technically you're our first podcast guest, so that's pretty special.
Yeah. I'll put that on my
keeping it local. Keeping it local. That's what we're about. Learning and living liberty from the kitchen table to the county line.
I like your tagline there, guys.
Yeah,
good.
Garth came up with that. Hey, before we sign out, a couple things I want to share with you. We try to share books that we're reading or authors that we enjoy, and I wanted to share one with you guys, just to kind of help broaden your thinking in terms of what's happening politically. There's what you see on the news. There's what you see presented. You see, different people talking about things. But one of the authors I just love, he goes by the avatar of Burning Bright. You can find him on Substack. He also helps host, and he hosts some different podcasts and that sort of thing that I enjoy listening to him. But he really has changed my method of thinking in terms of looking at political situations. And he talks a lot about narrative. And so, for instance, there's a recent news bit about the Epstein file release, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is just a brief example, right?
Yeah.
And then there was this photo op by the White House. Can you guys see that? And these are people that are considered new media. A lot of them are podcasters, started as podcasters or bloggers and that sort of thing. And they are showing their copy of the Epstein release that they were given at the White House. And so that is just a perfect example of narrative versus what's really happening. So the binders that they're holding, they don't have any new information than what has been publicly available up to today. But they're making this big show of releasing this. And so my author, Burning Bright, talks a lot about, what's the purpose of presenting that story and presenting those images. And, everyone's got a lot of different theories behind that. One of them that he suggested was that the people that are actually on the Epstein list that are, guilty of criminal behavior in the past are, it's just to kind of help make them nervous and kind of force their hand and hopefully put them on edge to make mistakes or to, say things or whatever. But there's no new information that's been released there. But yet there's this photo op and there's narrative about this story. And so he's really helped teach me to kind of look deeper and like, what's the real reason that this story is being presented? And it's just Americans are very black and white, and very, well, if this is what the news says, this must be what's really happening. And he makes the argument often
that's a great point.
It's not really what's happening, it's what people are wanting to understand. So he's just a really great resource to kind of help you think a little deeper and a little broader in terms of what you're seeing reported on even what you would consider conservative media, or even what you're seeing coming from Trump, that Trump sometimes puts out information. And I'm not saying he's being dishonest, but the reason for him putting out certain information is maybe to get people thinking about something, or, to raise your
but also you have to look at the Epstein releases. It's a process. And we've listened to Pam Attorney General Bondi. And this first part, most people I listened to knew there wasn't going to be much in this first part. It's farther down the road because, she just sent a letter to the New York FBI office. Because she found out in going through the Epstein stuff that the New York FBI office has 2,000 pages of files that they've never shown to the Justice Department.
Wow.
Right.
So she's going, you got to have those in D.C. Toot sweet. So,
but I think...
Yeah, I think it was by today.
Yeah. The point that you bring up...
So here's the thing.
Go ahead, Garth.
Oh, sorry. Great. I want transparency. I want them to release the files. I don't like the dragging it out. But until there are people in handcuffs and in prison, nothing will have been accomplished. So transparency is great, but what we need is law enforcement, and we need people in jail and even executed, if possible. Until then, it's just a bunch of political drama, as far as I'm concerned.
But on the Epstein files,
I'm one.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just commenting on what Garth said. I'm one who believes that is coming. I think that is coming. I think there's been a lot of investigations and things going on for some time that most Americans aren't aware of. And I think when we find out about it, we'll be surprised. And I think it's going to be moving in the direction that you mentioned, Garth. But it's not. The interesting thing about it is it's not that they're going to start investigating these people now. I think the truth is that these people have been investigated for a long time, and we're going to just find out about the prosecutions and that it'll become public soon.
I think you're right there, Kris. But also, I love your original point about all of us finding a greater ability to discern between the reality and the narrative somebody wants to feed us. That's a great point.
Right. Well, and one of my other favorite authors, he's coined the phrase, understanding is better than reacting. And I love that.
That's
because
pretty cool.
What he says when he has a news item that comes up and he feels himself emotionally reacting to it, he's human, just like, in fact, his moniker is Just Human. That's the name of his avatar. But, he, like anyone else, his initial reaction is to get, that's terrible, or make you feel sad or what. So anytime he finds himself reacting emotionally, he tries to catch himself and say, well, that's intentional, that the news is presented intentionally in a way that will cause me to emotionally react. And so that's when he says it's better to stop, take a step back, and think, okay, what's really happening in this story? What's really being said? And why is it being presented to cause me to react emotionally in a certain way? Because that's how American politics have been run for many years. It's not about what's true or what's righteous or whatever, what's best in our best interest, but it's about controlling the American people by emotional reporting and emotional narratives.
True.
And so
very
good. Very good.
All right.
Yep. That is called wisdom. But here we are, ordinary Americans, just looking forward to preserving liberty locally. And that's why we're here, to organize and to help people who are just humans to save liberty locally. And so I'm very grateful to Kip and Sheila Murphy a brother and sister duo who are incredibly powerful and just love the Lord and love liberty. And we're grateful to have you with us. And I do want to remind all of our viewers to please join the Mug Club. Become a monthly donor. Maybe you'll choose a hat instead of a mug. But whatever the case may be, we would love to have you subscribe and to help us in our efforts as we continue the fight for free speech and also liberty locally. And again, we're here to learn and live liberty from the kitchen table to the county line. And thank you, Kip and Sheila, so much. And thank you, Kris. Any last words?
Just that we are very grateful for the opportunity to be here. We appreciate the invitation so much.
And this has been a lot of fun.
Oh, well, we're glad you joined us. And I have an outro video, if you're okay with me playing it, Garth. It's just an encouragement. You can listen to it or not. But as we're going to sign off, and I'm just going to let this play. And I love music. I love music videos, so I'm going to start this up, and we're going to tell everybody bye. Have a great weekend. See you guys.
In the morning when I wake up, I give thanks to my Savior. New day, new favor. Whoa, yeah. Free your mind out in nature. High vibe feeling major. Take your time just to savor. Whoa, yeah. And I don't wanna go. If you're not beside me, I need to know that you hear my prayer. I don't wanna go without your guidance. No. And I don't wanna go without your blessing. I need to know that you hear my prayer. You take the load, for you it ain't heavy. We will climb every hill, every mountain top, 'cause we're done living down in the valley. We will rise to the top and we won't fall down, 'cause we know what it's like in the valley. What if you learned that the journey was better than the top? Would you keep climbing? What if you knew that the season was coming to an end? Would you be more present? What if you knew every blessing would require a lot? Would you want more blessings? What if you got all your dreams but it wasn't enough? Would you be more grateful? And I don't wanna go. You're not beside me. I need to know that you hear my prayer. I don't wanna go without your guidance. No. And I don't wanna go without your blessing. I need to know that you hear my prayer. You take the load, for you it ain't heavy. We will climb every hill, every mountain top, 'cause we're done living down in the valley. We will rise to the top and we won't fall down, 'cause we know what it's like in the valley.
If you are new to the podcast, be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and join us next week for the next installment of the County Line Podcast.